So you've probably heard about diabetes, right? It affects millions of people. But what is actually going on inside the body when someone has it? Well, in this explainer, we're going to break down the science, starting with the core issue of high blood sugar and looking at the key hormone that's supposed to keep it all in check. Let's jump in.
All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with the root of it all, too much sugar in the blood. Then we'll look at the role of a little hormone called insulin. Think of it as a key. After that, we'll see how this one problem can actually start in two very different ways. We'll also explore a pretty serious complication. What happens when the body literally starts to starve itself? And finally, we'll cover the signs to look out for and how doctors figure this all out.
Okay, so let's dive right in at square one. When we talk about diabetes, what is the one fundamental problem that's happening deep inside the body?
Well, there's a fancy medical term for it, hyperglycemia. It sounds complicated, but it just means high blood glucose. And glucose is just a type of sugar. So, an excess of sugar floating around in the bloodstream, that is the single defining feature of diabetes.
So, to put it super simply, what it all boils down to is this. Diabetes is a condition where your blood sugar level gets too high and then it stays too high. But the big question is, why? Why does that happen? And that brings us to our next piece of the puzzle.
To really get why blood sugar goes up, we have to talk about the hormone that's supposed to keep it down, and that hormone is called insulin.
So what exactly is insulin? It's a hormone made by these tiny beta cells in your pancreas. And here's the best way to think about it. Insulin acts like a key. Its whole job is to unlock your body's cells to let that glucose, that sugar, get inside. Once inside, the cells can use it for energy. But, without that key, the sugar is basically locked out, stuck in the bloodstream with nowhere to go.
And this shows you that relationship perfectly. It's like a seesaw. When your body releases more insulin, your blood sugar level goes down. Why? Because all that sugar is successfully getting into the cells. But on the flip side, if your insulin level is low or not working, the glucose can't get in, so it just builds up and up in your blood.
Okay, so this is where things get a little more interesting. Because even though the end result is always high blood sugar, the reason why the sugar is high can be totally different. There are two main paths to the same problem.
But first, let's clear something up really quickly. You might have heard of two types of diabetes, mellitus and insipidus. Now, when you hear people talk about diabetes, they are almost always talking about diabetes mellitus. That's the one caused by an insulin problem, which leads to high blood sugar. Diabetes insipidus is actually a completely different thing. It's a kidney problem. The blood sugar is totally normal.
So for the rest of this explainer, we're just going to focus on diabetes mellitus, since it's the common one that's all about insulin, and it breaks down into two main types. And here is the absolute crucial difference. With type 1, the body's own immune system makes a mistake and attacks the very cells in the pancreas that produce insulin. It destroys them. The result, the body makes absolutely no insulin. There are no keys being made. This is often genetic and usually shows up when people are young. Now, type 2 is different. The body is still making insulin. It's making the keys, but the cells don't respond to it anymore. It's a condition called insulin resistance. It's like the locks on the cells have gotten all rusty and jammed, so the key doesn't work anymore. This is the much more common type, and it's often linked to things like obesity.
So this begs a really serious question. What happens if the body has zero insulin, like in type 1 diabetes? Well, the consequences can be incredibly severe.
Just think about this for a second. There's tons of sugar, tons of fuel in the blood. But without that insulin key, the cells can't get to it. They are literally starving in the middle of a feast. So what does the body do? In desperation, it starts burning its own fat and muscle for energy.
And this kicks off a really dangerous chain reaction called ketoacidosis. It goes like this. There's no insulin, so the cells can't use glucose. The body starts burning fat for fuel instead. Now, a byproduct of burning all that fat is a chemical called a ketone. And when these ketones build up really fast in the blood, they make the blood acidic, and that is a full-blown medical emergency.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about what's happening on the inside, but how would you even know this is going on? What are the signs on the outside, and how do doctors actually test for it?
Well, there are a few classic symptoms. You might notice you're going to the bathroom a lot. That's your body trying to flush out all that extra sugar. Feeling super tired and weak is another big one, because your cells aren't getting the fuel they need. Unexplained weight loss can happen too, because your body is burning its own fat and muscle. Even an irregular heartbeat can be a sign.
So to confirm what's going on, one of the most important tools a doctor has is something called the HbA1c test. It's a simple blood test, but what's so cool about it is that it gives a picture of your average blood sugar over the last 2 to 3 months. It's not just a snapshot, it's more like a movie of what's been happening over time.
And the numbers from that test tell a pretty clear story. A result in the 5 to 7% range is considered normal. If you're in the 7 to 8% range, that's a condition called prediabetes. It's a major warning sign, and a result over 8% generally confirms a diagnosis of diabetes.
You know, learning the signs is obviously super important, but stepping back, when you see how this all works and how it can go wrong, it really makes you appreciate the incredible, delicate balancing act our bodies are performing every single second of every day. It's a powerful reminder of how one tiny broken key can throw a whole system off balance.